In our last episode, we arrived at Air Station Corpus Christi and headed off to our hotel. Talk about fast and furious, that was us. And after a good night's sleep, we had the pleasure of having breakfast with the Commandant. He talked about growing up in the Coast Guard. Unfortunately, we weren't rolling, as we decided to have a more relaxed meal before we jumped into high gear. And once we hit the road, the record button was back on and the story continues. Our first stop, Sector and Air Station Corpus Christi. These units share a hangar located on Naval Air Station Corpus Christi. The sector was commissioned in May of 2005 to bring together, under one unified command, the units located from Port Lavaca to Brownsville. Together, the sector and air station perform all missions of the Coast Guard and annually conduct over 450 search and rescue cases a year, assisting around 600 persons in distress. We arrived to a room full of Coasties eager to have the Commandant visit and excited to hear what he had to say about the state of the Coast Guard.
Great to be here today. This is one of the few places since I became Commandant I haven't had a chance to visit. Wanted to make a deliberate effort to come down here. Master Chief Bowen and I, where you are, Master Chief, have crisscrossed the Coast Guard for the last 21 months, talking to Coast Guard people. Master Chief's already been here once and was pressing me to get down here as soon as I could.
What I love about the current command of the Coast Guard is how Admiral Allen and Master Chief Bowen see it as a priority to blanket the country, to visit as many stations as possible, to talk one-on-one with Coasties about what's going on within the organization and where the Coast Guard is headed.
There's a lot of stuff going on in the Coast Guard right now, a lot of change. There's going to be more change coming in the Coast Guard, and I think it's incumbent on me as a leader to get out in front of you all and talk about it, to explain to you what's going on. To let you know that we do have a cause for action. There's some things that need to change in the Coast Guard. But moreover, after I talk, is to listen to you, to answer any questions you may have of me. When I was told that I was going to be nominated to be the Commandant, I put a team together. We started thinking about what we needed to do, how we needed to reposition the Coast Guard. That resulted in us publishing what we call Commandant Intent Action Orders. There were 10 of them. That is the agenda for my watch. There will be no others. I'm not going to try and reinvent the future again. It's an agenda that's very ambitious, that may take us many, many years to finish. My goal is to get the commitment of the Coast Guard to understand why we need to do it, so whether I'm here or not, it will continue. Doing more with less is out of our lexicon. We do not use that in my Coast Guard. I will use it at hearings only to tell you we're not going to use it anymore. You're not allowed to. All right, so you got that right. Now in the meantime, until we get more, we're going to do more with the same. That's just a transition period. But frankly, going into the FY09 budget, which you can also find online with the number of people that are being added, we're going for billet growth, okay? And I stated at the State of the Coast Guard speech at the National Press Club, while I'm Commandant and the rest of my tenure, we're going to have this discussion. I've told my folks over a lifetime in the Coast Guard, and it's been virtually a lifetime for me now, 37 years at this point, 41 if you count the Coast Guard Academy. You see a lot, you learn a lot, you experience a lot. You see what the organization has tried to do, you see where they succeeded, you see where they failed. You start to get a list of things that you do to maybe really improve the organization. I think when you get to my position in the organization and you don't take that list and attend to it, you're not keeping faith with yourself or the service. I don't just wake up in the morning and decide that I'm going to change the Coast Guard. This has been a very deliberate process, things that I've thought about for a number of years. There is a lot of change going on right now. Let me just summarize everything that's happening, and hopefully, if we're going to do this right, it will be invisible at the sector level and below, or things will get much better than they were. If I was going to put it in shorthand, okay? What we're going to do is we're going to create 2 new deputy commandants, one for operations and one for mission support, to focus on those 2 things, and I'll tell you why in a minute we're doing that. We're going to create 2 major field commands. One will be the Coast Guard Operations Command in Norfolk, and that will be the command that all the district commanders report to. I'm trying to create a change-centric organization that is continually assessing where it's at, what it can be doing, and the more you're capable of articulating the requirements of why the world around you is changing, the more you're going to be a more effective advocate in getting those resources both before the administration and before Congress. I certainly have started a debate.
I couldn't agree more, and I think his insistence on visiting and speaking with those that are serving in the Coast Guard is just the way to do it. Next time on Traveling with the Commandant, we go for a helo ride over to Station South Padre Island for an awards presentation and another all hands, this time on the water. See you then.